right, hey everybody, welcome back to another weekly webinar here at Route Consultant for the bread industry. Now, my name is Josh Gregory. If you've ever been here before, never seen me, I'm the Vice President of Education here at Route Consultant. And really all that means is that for you, these webinars are here to help teach you, educate you on this space, and then continue to be a place where you can learn, ask any questions you have, whether it's something we talk about today or anything else you have about the industry. And then keep finding ways to move forward in this space to either find a listing you're looking for or find the right step to take to get you started in this space. Now, like I said, if you are here live, if you're on this webinar live, we will have a Q&A section at the end if there's any questions you have. Just make sure to put it in the Q&A button at the bottom. If you aren't here live, you will miss the questions. You can come to the next one and ask your questions then, but these will all be on YouTube. So if you're on YouTube now watching it, every previous webinar is also on there. So you can go and watch any of those at the Route Consultant YouTube page. Now, just content-wise, what we do on these webinars, I'm going to go over some new content with my co-host, and then I'll go over the new listing for the week, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. So just general flow-wise. And if you've been here the last few weeks, we've talked through a lot of kind of the base operational ideas for this industry. So what we're going to be focusing on today is really spending some time digging into how you grow and scale this business. And so we're going to be talking through all that today. And we've brought Stephen Ryan back on to share his expertise. And if you haven't met Stephen, if you haven't seen any of these previous ones, Stephen is a current operator with over a decade of experience in this space, working for different bakeries. He's also operated his own routes for a long period of time, and grown to the size where he has drivers and doesn't have to be on those routes all the time. So for those of you looking in and trying to get to that model of things, he's a great example. So Stephen, if you want to go ahead and come on and say hello.
Hey, good afternoon, guys. It is good to be back with you.
It's great to have you. So like I said, kind of the idea of today, I want to kind of talk through growth. And I know that comes in a few different flavors in this space. So can you just kind of start by walking us through what growth means when we're talking about our existing territory? So, increasing the value and volume of the stops you've already got.
Sure. Really, from a 10,000 square foot observation, really, you're going to have multiple different ways that you're going to grow within your business. Some of that is going to be organic. And so that's going to be new product offerings, increased costs, new operational efficiencies that you can bring as an owner to the business. And then there's some other ways that you can grow, whether it be new stores, new offerings, maybe some things thinking outside the box that you haven't thought of before.
Perfect. Yeah. And we're going to get into all of that. So let's start at the store level. So just kind of talk a little bit through the merchandising. Like, what does that mean if nobody's heard that term? And then we can go into some more detail there.
Yeah, merchandising is going to be how you service the store on non-delivery days. So peak service days, weekends, Saturdays, Sundays. If you've ever been in a grocery store on a Sunday, especially around a holiday, it's busy. Things can get thrown all over the place. And so a customer is really not going to shop from a shelf that looks a mess. And so if there are products that don't belong there, that have been thrown all over the shelf, that perception there is that the product isn't fresh, it's not desirable, and a customer's eyes are really going to glance over that and not really consider the purchase. So merchandising could be coming in and rotating product from a display to your shelf, from your shelf to a display, working back stock, putting day glow stickers, which is an orange sticker on the product that draws people's eye to it. Lets them know that it's on sale. And this is a great way to grow your business, making sure that the store looks top shape on non-delivery days.
Yeah. And so something like that, those stickers, is that something the bakery provides? Do you have to work with the manager on that, or can you just do it whenever to make it kind of pop?
Yeah, some of the stores are going to have different opinions on that. Some really like them, and you're going to get them for free at the bakery level. And some stores don't like them. So you have to make sure, regionally, you understand the requirements within your store. But ultimately, everybody's trying to grow sales within this space. And so if you can focus attention toward that, sometimes you can sway someone that maybe was against it in favor of it.
Okay. So it definitely, I know that one of the kind of the critical things here is that relationship with store managers. So first off, what are the different people that you might be interacting with at the store? And then who's the one that you need to really work with? What's their title when you're talking about growing your volume at an existing stop?
Yeah, so your go-to person in a grocery store is going to be your grocery manager. He's going to be directly below the store manager, and he's going to operate the fresh bakery, all of the dry consumables within the grocery space. And so there's a meat manager, there's a produce manager, and then a grocery manager. The grocery manager really answers to the store manager, and so he's going to be your first point of contact. He's going to be the person you're going to see at 3, 4 in the morning when you walk into the store, where the store manager is not going to come in until about 7 o'clock. So thinking through those relationships, making sure that when the store manager arrives, that the store looks great. If it's a peak service day, if it's a holiday, those observations that he makes as he walks the store, at 7:30 before his meetings are really a great place to start before he's even met you. And so that brings me to the next point is he has to know who you are. So if you're out overnight and you're often servicing the store, before he even comes in, little things like maybe once a month, stopping back by at 10 o'clock to just introduce yourself, chit chat, ask how, everything's going on his end. What are some focuses that, are being handed down from a corporate level that are important for me to know about that I can serve you better? And those relationships, you start asking those questions, a guy's going to really give you the shirt off his back because he knows that you're there to serve him and grow his interest.
Yeah, and I think ultimately that's one of the biggest things. And this is in kind of all business, but for here, if you think through and can understand, what does he care about and what drives his paycheck and his KPIs, the things that he's graded on, and what can you do to improve that? That's where you can find those mesh points where ultimately there may be win-wins for ways for you to make more and for him to look better for at the corporate level too. So what are some of those things that you sometimes see that can be wins, that things that those store managers can provide you if you can find those opportunities that can increase your volume?
Sure. Well, online grocery is a big push right now. So we know that, customers are moving online, people are shopping via an app, there's going to be in-store pickup. And so fulfillment rates really are an important thing right now. And understanding that store pickers, the people that actually shop for the online pickup are going to start about 6 o'clock. And so if they're going to start picking and you haven't been there yet, there's going to be metrics on fulfillment rates. And so if your fulfillment rates are really poor, that's not a good first step in building that relationship with the manager.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I hadn't even thought about it, but you see it all the time where you do Instacart or something, and the person you've sent in says, "Oh, that product's not in stock. I'll look for a replacement." I hadn't thought about the fact that I'm sure those are things being tracked at the grocery level to make sure that their suppliers are there so that they can continue to get the business. Because if I know a store never has what I need, I'll just tell an Instacart to go somewhere else, or that picker will go to a different store, knowing that that's not going to be the one that's always ready. So that makes a lot of sense. And I hadn't even thought about it, but I mean, I know that it's something that even, a few years ago, we never did, but now I feel like, we never go to Costco anymore because they just bring it to us and makes my day a lot easier. And so, things like that, I think are really important to understand as the nature of grocery changes. What are the things that you need to do to help the store continue to be successful? And just, it might not be something that traditionally you would think about as a contractor, but is huge for actually continuing to make sure that that product moves correctly, which is how you make money ultimately.
Sure. And this can really move into, hot promotion sale items. So if you have a product moving into, say, Super Bowl that's on the mega event at Kroger, it's buy one, get one free at Publix, knowing that communicating to the pickers that, hey, I have a huge display just on the other side of the store. Don't go to the shelf to look for this item. It's in stock over here. And so little things like that really go a long way in growing your business, where they may think it's out of stock, but it's actually not. And so that communication is really important to the grocery manager, to, the lead stock clerks.
Got it. Okay. So two things there. First, communicating to pickers. So you're saying basically let the in-store employees make sure that they are aware, so that if somebody comes and asks them for the location of something, that they know it could be in multiple places. So there's other people you need to communicate that. You said lead store clerk.
Could be. So if you have, pickers that are looking for a product, their handheld is going to tell them it's going to be on the fourth shelf of aisle 15. And if they don't know, if they're new and they just go there looking for it and it's sold out, unaware that just around the corner there's a huge end cap of it. That's an important conversation to have. And this doesn't happen often, but really going into your major food holidays, your Super Bowl, your Thanksgiving, these are the key times when off-shelf displays and incremental sales opportunities really drive your growth in the business.
Got it. Okay. And then you mentioned this here again. So things like an end cap or a display, like what is the process of getting one of those set up? And how do you kind of think about how much value it needs to provide, or does the store think about how much value needs to be provided to be worth it for them?
Sure. Two things to really think about when you're thinking about off-shelf displays. So a customer that is looking for your product, they are brand loyal to your brand name. They're looking for your product. They're going to go for it on the shelf. They know where to find it. They know where it is. A customer that doesn't normally buy your brand is going to typically find it on an end cap, something that is not diluted in the sea of SKUs that you'll find in the aisle. And so first, is it merchandised properly? Does it look good? Is it desirable? Is it fresh? Is it at a price point that's approachable? And if you can hit those three things, you have the best chance for the person that doesn't normally buy your product to put it in the basket and ultimately become a regular consumer of your products. That's another way that we grow the business, off-shelf displays. And it's really important that we execute on those.
And for those off-shelf displays, how do you think, do you work with the store on what location you're allowed to use, or is it kind of up to you of saying, well, I think when I buy hot dogs, I always want to make sure that I get buns too. So, putting it next to the thing they're with, do you get control there, or is it kind of a decision made by the store?
Well, both. So on a national level, we have a whole army of people behind us that manage sales and promotions. They manage new product offerings as a consumer's buying habits shift. We see people moving into plant-based diets. So whether that be an almond flour, a cauliflower product, pea protein. So there's lots of people behind the scenes that sort of research consumers' buying habits, and they may dictate national sales programs that say, from this week to this week, we're going to have an end cap on 4, and we need to execute that from a national level. Beyond that, if you have a good relationship with a store manager, a grocery manager, and you're really showing growth on some certain key SKUs, it's very easy to go to them, show them that. And if they have a good relationship with you, they can trust you. They know that you're not going to put up a display and disappear for 5 days, and it's always going to be looking good. Then they're going to give you that opportunity. And so that's another way that just through the relationship that you have with the store, you can grow your business outside of a national promotional planogram.
Okay. Yeah. And you're touching on it here where I know that there's going to be kind of national level sales and research kind of driving which products to use on things like that. But is there anything that dictates, how much of a certain product you should use? And is there anything where if you think it might be a good product to source and to put more of, even if there's no sale attached to it, that you kind of go through the process of deciding to add more of that product? Like how much of that control do you have, and how much variance would you say that you put in there versus, kind of the expected volume from what you've seen on all the products that you've worked with for years versus kind of trying to test something new or kind of try anything like that?
Sure. Your national promotions that are assigned from a corporate level are going to dictate a product category. And so whether that be whole grain breads or farmhouse breads or cookies, and within that, you may have 8 to 10 SKUs. And so you have free range to a lot more or less within that product category, depending on what's really selling in your area. So you have freedom within that to really hone in on what is selling. Of course, regional impacts are going to be a big part here, and thinking about, if I'm in New York where the Reuben is, the king, I want to make sure that I have lots of rye bread in New York. Or if you're in the South, we do a lot of barbecue. And so your hot dogs and your hamburger buns and the flavorings within that category are really going to, again, allow you to drive sales within your region. This is really where the independent contractor model really serves the bakeries well, because there's so many nuances to the business as you think about different regional areas. And so you have some freedom and flexibility within product categories.
Okay. And do they provide any research to you, or do you just kind of know that it's backing product decisions? And then so is the creativity and the decision making made at the independent contractor level, or do they give you any resources to help make those decisions?
When you buy your route, you're going to be introduced to online portals where you can look at product categories, but it's really hard to quantify that down to a store level and broken down by 8 or 10 SKUs. And so it's something that you really learn as an independent. Certainly, you can ask the previous seller, for some backup data. But it's something that you really just learn running the route by yourself and figuring it out. And that's how you provide a lot of value to the bakery.
Got it. Yeah. So if you were to kind of think about this side of the growth part of the business, the idea of, merchandising correctly, putting the right products in the right place at the right time, how much impact do you think that has on, compare somebody who's doing all of those things really well to someone who is just kind of doing the bare minimum or just enough to stock the shelves and have kind of the same product they've always had? Like, how much impact on revenue does it have to continually invest time into those types of things?
Yeah, that's a great question. It would really be hard to specify without looking at some regional numbers. So as I've said before, think about asking for regional growth rates. And so if across 20 independents in your area, if you're growing at a 10% rate organically, and you have one contractor that's down 5%, it's not unreasonable to think that there could be a 15% swing in just one year based on service, based on sales, based on merchandising. In my experience, I have bought and sold routes. I have one route that has just over doubled in 3 years of time, versus other routes where it took a little longer. From 2008 to 2018, it took, I guess, about 7 years for that route to double. And so there's some nuance to that, and understanding the products that you're selling and the location as well.
Got it. And can you get those regional growth rates from the bakery? Is that where you can find them? Okay.
You
Yeah,
can. Yes, sir.
that's really helpful information to kind of use as a backstop, comparing how this particular one is trending versus regional growth rates. And that really gives you, exactly like you're saying, a lot of information to understand. Obviously there's going to be a little bit of variance contract to contract, but you're right. If there is if one contractor is declining at 5% and the regional growth rates are at 10%, there should be at least a decent amount of upswing that has the potential if you can turn those territories around. So okay, I think that's kind of a really helpful overview and backdrop for at least this part of the growth side of the business. So growing your existing volume and stops. Now, I know that there are other ways to think about growth in this business. So first, I know that your territory has a set of existing stops, but what are kind of the mechanisms to add stops in your territory? How does that work?
Yeah, so as we get into contracts and understanding those, like we've said before, you have a geographic territory and you have freedom to sell as much product as you can within that territory. So if you have fully satisfied all of your super centers, your Kroger, your Publix, your Walmart, and you want to start moving into mom and pops, this is going to be independent of the bakery. This is going to be a relationship between you and the store. This is going to be cash business, and you really get to decide what you're going to bring in, the price that you're going to sell it at. And then, after some time, if it's not working out, you can certainly pull out. But hopefully you're growing and you're satisfied with the relationship, and this is bringing a lot of value to you and the customer. So, catering companies, tiendas, taco shops, these are great ways to grow your business and capitalize on some incremental sales that you wouldn't find otherwise.
And so, you find this place, you just go to them directly. Is it a contract or just kind of I'll provide the bread at this price, or whatever the product is at this price? Do you accept?
Yes. So you really want to print out a SKU list and itemize it per SKU and agree to a sales price, and then also agree to what happens to stale. And so it's a guaranteed sale to that customer, and they understand that they're only going to pay for what actually sells. And you will receive credit for that product the same way you would at an independent, at a super center, but making sure that they understand that there's at no risk to them to bring your product into their store and to offer it.
Got it. Yeah. So it's really not a huge loss there. And it's in theory a protected territory for, per bakery level. So it's really just, if you can offer them a better price, then, you save money. Like, how often is it, or how easy is it to offer them a better price than what they might find elsewhere?
Yeah, really, when you cut the middleman out, you can not only make a little better margin on the product, but offer them a better price. So if they are, purchasing stuff at Kroger, at Costco for, catering events, for wedding parties, for birthday parties, you can easily cut the middleman out, the retailer, and say make an extra 15-20% on the product, all while selling it to them at a cheaper price, and then serving their interests well. As you're going through your bakeries and evaluating your business, you want to ask and see if they have food service SKUs. These are products that aren't for sale in the grocery store. They're usually a larger bag size and a little bit cheaper price. So if you have food service offerings within the portfolio, that's a great advantage.
Got it. And that really opens up the opportunity for you to provide those better prices to those independent shops that aren't at the corporate level. Now, I know there's increased margin from the pricing that you can give to them, but is it always worth it to add those stops, or how do you think about if adding, a random deli is worth adding to your day? Like, what are kind of the things you think through there?
Yeah, starting with your goals. So, going back to, am I trying to grow this to sell it? Am I trying to grow this to split it and turn it into two routes, bring on employees? That'll really dictate, how much work you want to put into this. Your smaller mom and pops, they may not drive huge volume. But when you find that one catering company, that does a 2,000 person event twice a year, that can be a really big pop. And thinking about, cross utilizing, say FedEx trucks, it could be very easy to align a food service store with a FedEx operation and not even add that workload onto your daily route guy. So there's some opportunity there. You really have to just think about what my goals are and then how this store would work into that.
Got it. Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about this. So does the depot only allow you to dispatch at certain times? Or let's say you have your normal guys that leave the depot with the bread in the morning. Could you have somebody who goes back later in the day or even at night? Like, what kind of options are there to then be able to, do maybe just a couple stops at a different time from your normal route? Is that an opportunity?
It certainly is. You're going to want to, of course, check with your local distribution center, make sure that there are not, locked hours. But most of them, in my experience, you can come when you want. Certainly there are staffed hours where if you have to get a stale ticket processed, he's only available from midnight to 6 a.m. But if you leave product back, you want to return empties, you usually have availability to at least some of the warehouse in order to do that.
Okay. Yeah. So there could be opportunities where maybe it's just one stop you do later, and maybe you as the owner don't want to do a full route, but there's just a couple stops you'll do as kind of the end of the day type thing, where maybe you've worked it out with somebody in the area and it's worth it for you. But you're right, Stephen. I think it all comes back to is that incremental revenue part of my business plan? What are my goals, and how does it all fit in? So I think so there's the growth of your existing stops. There's adding additional stops within the territory you already have. Now, one last question on adding stops. Let's say you have, forget about the mom and pops. If they build a new Publix in your territory, is that automatically yours? How does that work?
Yeah, that is correct. Everything built within your territory is automatically yours. There is some nuance to that, and we'll get into this as we start talking about route contracts. In very dense urban areas, sometimes territories are divided on major highways, and the store frontage, which way the store is actually facing, can dictate whether it's yours or the adjoining IDPs. So in really dense areas where your dividing lines are major highways, that's something to think about and just be aware of, but it's not often a problem.
Okay. So for the most part, and I assume those big, Publix, Kroger, Walmart, I assume those are all negotiated at the corporate level automatically.
That's correct.
Yeah. So you don't even have to go and do anything. You just know that, oh, they're building the Publix in my territory. That's great. That's a ton of volume that's coming in the next couple of years whenever they finish the building. They just built one down the road from us a couple of years, and I'm sure whoever has that contract was happy to add, that there's one road right there that has a Kroger, a Publix, and a Kroger within about 2 miles of each other on the same road. So I'm sure that's a nice one for whoever has it.
That sounds like a nice territory.
Yeah, yeah. So let's the last part of growth here. Let's say that you are thinking about adding a territory. What is that process? Is it ever awarded by a bakery, or is it always basically you talk to another guy at the depot, he's willing to sell a route, and you add that territory? Like, what's that? What are the typical mechanics there?
Yeah, territory is almost always going to come through acquisition unless there is a new product coming to an area that is not previously serviced. We've seen this here in Middle Tennessee with Utz chips. And so they are a Northeast brand. They have not had a presence in Middle Tennessee for, well, I don't know if they have ever had a presence in Middle Tennessee, but we've just started to see them open up into this market. And so that's a way that a route could start as an employee. Volume is very small. You're a company man. You're helping execute, bringing product into the stores, and then once there's some volume, then that territory is sold off.
Got it. Perfect. Okay. Well, I think that's kind of at a high level, that's the big things to understand about how the growth mechanisms work in this space. There's a lot of organic growth that can happen in every single individual stop. There are ways to increase the revenue done at each of your stops. There's ways to add stops to the territory you already have, and there's ways in which you can add territory to the territory that you've already gotten. So lots of different ways to think about growth. And like Steven said a couple of times, it really comes down to what are the ways that you want to grow? What are the things that you want to invest your time and energy in? And we can always help you talk through those, find the right business plan and growth strategy for you, whether you're looking at buying one for the first time or you're already a contractor. We're always happy to help if you reach out to us, whether it's my team or Steven. You'll hear from both of us. So if you ever have any of those questions, you can reach out to our team, info@routeconsultant.com, and we're always help you to talk through those growth strategies. So before we get to Q&A, I do have there is a new listing to read out and an event to highlight. So first off, we have a new listing out of New York. It's a bread route at 60,000. And this one's doing 14 weekly accounts. So if you're looking in the New York area, we got one for you. You can always reach out to us and see that or any of our other active listings across the country. And we're happy to send you all the details on that and help you work through it if you're trying to acquire one. Now, I did want to highlight one of the big things is it's either today or anytime now, we're launching a new investor summit for bread. And really, you can think of that as two pieces. So on the one, you're going to get access to some digital content, some foundational courses beyond the 101 that we've seen. You can kind of think of it as like a 201 course load of information. And we're going to have an in-person workshop that comes with that, where you can come in person, meet our team, meet Steven, and really dig into the territory questions you have, specific listing questions you have, and make it a really customized day for you to figure out, is this the right thing for me? What are my remaining questions? And can I find, the right confidence level to proceed in this space? And that's really our goal, is to help you. If you come to one of those days, come into our office, get fed really nice food, really nice drinks, meet the team. But the goal of it is to help provide you confidence over kind of a one-day trip to Nashville and help you make that decision. And our next one is coming up March 28th, but we have basically every month or every other month, we'll have those throughout the year. And again, if you have more questions on those, again, you can always reach out to info@routeconsultant.com, but we'll have details on that on our website very soon. I do see, I think, a question that came in. Okay, so let me see if I can summarize this question, Henry. So he has a company that operates across the country. Actually, Henry, this is a long question. I see your email address. I'll make sure that we get back to you on this and address that question in detail, because I can see that that's going to be some back and forth to help you kind of make that decision. So if you are still here, Henry, I'll get back to you. If you're not, I will send you an email. Perfect. Okay, I'm not seeing anything else right now. So like I said, big things, new investor summit launching soon. 101 always there. These webinars are always going to continue to be here. This is a place where Steven and I are going to be here every week, bringing you new ideas, new content, and also answering any questions you all have. Other than that, we hope to see you on the next webinar. Stephen, it's always a pleasure having you on here. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Josh, and everyone else. We will see you next week.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone. See you next week.